Welcome to Spainguru. I am Bruno, and today I'm joined by Ainhoa Manero from Sterna Abogados, one of Spain's top immigration law firms. And we're diving deep into Spanish citizenship by residence. Ainhoa is a true expert in this field, and in this two-part video series, she's here to walk us through everything you need to know about the citizenship process, from eligibility requirements to dual citizenship and everything in between. In this first video, we'll cover the basics, including how long you need to reside in Spain, which visas count towards citizenship, and how absences can affect your application. Trust me, you don't want to miss this. Ainhoa, what are the basic eligibility requirements for Spanish citizenship by residence?
Well, the most important thing, as the name says, is residency, okay? You have to have a certain time of residency before applying, immediately before, because this is important, okay? So you have to live here in Spain with a legal residency immediately before the application. Sometimes the normal time is 10 years, but sometimes it's 2 years, sometimes it's 1 year. We will explain the different situations. You need to normally pass an exam, okay? There are 2 exams. Spanish exam if you are not a Spanish speaker, okay? By your nationality, and the one of knowledge, okay, which is a test.
Cultural knowledge, history knowledge, geography, politics.
Exactly, which is not open, okay? We have a catalog of questions, multiple choice, which you can study and you can pass it. It's not that you don't know what they are going to ask, okay? And in addition to that, you don't have to have criminal records, okay? You need to be empadronado. This is something important because some people forget about the empadronamiento.
This is the registration of the address where you live in the city hall of the city where you're living.
Very well explained, yes, because this concept it doesn't exist in some countries, so yes. So empadronamiento, residency of the amount of time that the law asks for your case, no criminal records, passing the exams, and really that's all. Some documents that you need to submit, of course, birth certificate, marriage certificate. Sometimes we will talk about it, but that are the main that are the main requirements for the nationality.
Absolutely, you have to pay the fees. You need to have your country's passport valid, okay? Because it happened to me when I did the nationality process that my passport was actually expired, and I had to renew it just before picking up the Spanish papers. But yeah, those are the small.
And be careful. Well, and that is a very good detail, because be careful if you change your passport. Imagine they ask for 10 years, or normally you have changed the passport, like you. Even if they ask you for 2 years, maybe you have changed the passport. Keep the last passport, at least a copy of the last passport, because they really need to check your exits, okay? So if they don't have your last passport, a copy of the last passport, they will ask for more documents to show that you really were living in Spain. So sometimes it gets more difficult to show that.
Was a very, very important pro tip here. Every single document, keep the document, keep a copy of the documents, and scan everything, and have your folders in your computer and on the cloud if you can, in your email, whatever you can, because you never know when they will ask for those documents.
And when we say the whole document, the whole passport, is every single page, because normally people scan or photocopy the ones that have stamps, but you need to think that the person that is reviewing your case doesn't know if that were the only pages that had stamps. So you need to copy also the pages of the passport that are in blank, that there are no stamps on it, okay? This is very important. There are no stamps on it, okay? This is very important. There are no stamps on it, okay? This is very important. There are no stamps on it, okay? This is very important. There are no stamps on it, okay? This is very important. There are no stamps.
How long do you need to reside in Spain before you can apply for citizenship?
So common case, what the law says is 10 years, okay? So a US citizen will be 10 years, a UK citizen will be 10 years, Chinese citizen, but there is a reduced period of time of 2 years, which is the most common case for Latin Americans, okay? And there is also one very common case, which is just 1 year after marriage to a Spanish citizen, okay? So, of course, there are some other very exceptional cases of 5 years, but the most common cases that we see are 2 years for Latin Americans, Philippines, and Portugal, okay? We will talk about also Puerto Rico, that goes into those 2 years, and the 1 year married to a Spanish citizen, and 10 years for all the normal cases. Because I don't know if you are going to ask me later, you have to difference between permanent residency and nationality or passport, because I see in my consultations that people are a little bit confused about that, okay? So everyone can get the permanent residency after 5 years, but that is not the passport. It's a very good residency. It's a residency really that we say for your whole life, but it's not a Spanish passport.
Exactly, yes. The confusion, mostly for Ibero-American passport holders or Filipinos, they can apply for citizenship after only 2 years, which is funny because it's faster than being able to apply for the long-term or also known permanent residency in Spain, which is after 5 years.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I think people are a little bit confused.
I guess the two most common pathways, if you're American or from the UK or Canada, you're going to get your long-term or permanent residency first after 5 years. And then after 10 years, you could potentially apply for the Spanish citizenship. But for the 2 years fast-track eligible people, Ibero-Americans, Filipinos, etc., they're going to get their Spanish passport before the long-term residency. That would be, I guess, the summary. What types of visas allow you to start the residency period that counts toward citizenship?
Very good question. So every kind of residency except a student permit, okay, allow you to get the Spanish nationality or passport, okay? But the problem is that, for example, a golden visa that allows you not to be in Spain, that will qualify you only if you really stay in Spain, okay? So does a golden visa qualify for Spanish nationality? Yes, if you stay in Spain. If not, no. There are other kind of residencies which are clearer because you need to stay to maintain the residency. So there is no confusion. So any kind of residency that you can get in Spain is valid for the Spanish passport except student permits.
Just to summarize, Spanish student visa doesn't count towards the residency requirement for Spanish citizenship. But for example, the non-lucrative visa or residence or digital nomad visa or teleworkers visa, golden visa, you have to stay. All of them, they would count towards the residency requirement for the Spanish citizenship.
All of them, because there are. It's true that some people think that nomad visa doesn't count. Yes, it counts. Okay, so all of them except the student permit counts towards nationality. But some.
Does time spent on student visa count towards the residency requirement for citizenship? And what happens with the long-term residency?
So yeah, exactly. The student permit counts towards European Union long-term residency. And this is important because there are two long-term residencies in Spain, the normal one or the Spanish one that we say, or the European Union one. The student permit counts as a 50%, so half, for the European Union long-term residency. Be careful with that, because if you are doing your mathematics and you meet the requirements, maybe you have done 3 years as a student, which will count as a 1 year and a half, okay, for this European Union long-term residency. And then you do the 3 years and a half as a residency, but you apply for the normal long-term residency, you will be denied. You need to apply for the European Union long-term residency. But yes, it counts half for the European Union long-term residency, but it doesn't count for the Spanish passport.
So the residency requirement time for the European Union residency is 5 years. It means that if you were only a student in Spain, you will need to stay in Spain for 10 years to fulfill that requirement, because it is 10 years divided 2.
Yes, but at least you have to do a month of residency. So you cannot be 10 years and apply directly to European Union long-term residency, okay? You need at some point to change to residency, okay? You can modify your student permit nowadays after your first course, okay? Because before, maybe if you have read some other information from the past, was after 3 years. Now is quicker. After one course, you can switch to a residency, to a work permit. The thing is that you need to at some point switch to a residency in order to do the European Union long-term residency or the long-term residency. The thing is, maybe you can do, I don't know, 9 years of a student, okay, and 1 for residency, and then you will be able to switch to long-term residency.
So the rules state you have to be legal and continuous residency, okay, before applying for Spanish citizenship by residency. How is legal and continuous residency defined for the purpose of applying for Spanish citizenship?
The law doesn't really define it, okay, but there are a lot of criteria, rulings from the Supreme Court, okay.
Yep.
So it was said by these rulings that being more than 3 months a year out of Spain is not really considered continuously, okay. So that doesn't mean maybe that if you have been 10 years living continuously and just one of those years you are out 4 months, it's going to be directly denied, because it's not a requirement in the law, it's criteria. But really, to be safe, if you are not out more than 3 months per year every year that is required to live in your case, then you will not have any problem.
Ainhoa, what documentation is required to prove legal residence in Spain?
So the most important thing, of course, is your permit, your NIE, what we call NIE, which is really TIE, but you will see that we call to the NIE to everything. So your valid residency, okay? Proof of your valid residency and your valid passport, as you said, a valid passport. That are the main requirements to prove the legal residency. Of course, they are going to ask you for the empadronamiento, okay? But that really doesn't show the legal residency that you have, because someone that is not legal can be empadronado, okay? So valid residency with your permit. Also, there are some certificates, because when they ask for 10 years, sometimes you don't remember when you really meet the 10 years, okay? Or sometimes the 2 years, you don't really, maybe you are not sure. There is a certificado de residencia, okay, that they give you in the police, and they tell you exactly the dates. It's important to check that, because maybe you are correct, but there is a mistake in the system. So if you do all the process and they have another date in the system, you are going to get denied, because maybe by the details you don't meet the requirements of the 2 years. This is especially, I recommend to do this if you are really like doing it in the same day that you do the 2 years or the 10 years, okay? If you are doing it like 6 months after of meeting those 2 years or 10 years, there is not going to be a problem. But these people that really want to do it right the day that they meet the years, it's good to check the certificado de residencia and see what date is the date that the police has in their system for your first day of residency.
Is there a specific income requirement to be eligible for Spanish citizenship by residence?
No. What is important is not to have debts in the tax office or in the social security, okay? They can check that, but you don't have to be working, or you don't have to show financial savings. That is not important for the ministry, but they can check if you have any even traffic fines, okay? So be careful with that.
Can you be denied if you have traffic fines, for example?
Yes, because they could consider that you don't meet your civil how you say
you're not a good citizen, potentially.
Exactly, your obligations, your obligations as a citizen, okay, is to and as a resident is to pay your fines, to pay your taxes, to not having debts, okay, in social security or in the tax office. So of course it can affect your case.
How does Spain handle dual citizenship with countries like the US or the UK?
Very good question. So there is no double nationality agreement with the UK or the US or Canada. Really, there is only with Latin American countries, Filipinas and Portugal. And the problem about that is that there is not a lot of communication between countries, and they are not coordinated. So for sure, what I can tell you is that for Spain, if you have those of US citizenship or UK citizenship, you need to say, when you get the Spanish nationality, you need to say that you give up your other passport, you give up your other nationality. But having said that, sometimes or always the other country doesn't recognize that declaration, especially, for example, in the US. I see a lot of cases in the US. The US says that giving up the US nationality is much more complicated than a declaration to Spain that has nothing to do with them, because there are also tax implications. So really the US has to accept your giving up your nationality, and it's not that easy. It's a tough process. So if you say to Spain that you give up your US passport, that only has an effect for Spain, not to the US. I even have clients that went to the US consulate in Spain to say, hey, I got the Spanish nationality and I am giving you back your passport, the US passport, and the consulate has said, no, this doesn't work like this. This is a very much complicated procedure, and we don't accept that declaration to Spain.
Yeah, long story short, the Americans, they need to go through some interviews and they need to pay like about $2,500 to give up their U.S. nationality. So they had to go through a tough procedure.
Yeah, it's not easy.
To give up their nationality. It's not that easy.
Exactly.
Is it possible to maintain dual citizenship if your home country doesn't allow it?
Well, this is similar to what we have said. If your home country doesn't allow it and they acknowledge, then no, you cannot have dual citizenship, because that is why there are dual citizenship agreements, okay? But what I said, sometimes even if there is no dual citizenship agreement, that doesn't mean that really your home country doesn't allow it. It's really, Spain is more clear about that, about when Spain doesn't allow to have dual when you get the nationality by residency, okay? Because there are other kind of nationalities that, for example, the Ley de Memoria Democrática, that you can keep your nationality. So it's because of residency that sometimes you cannot keep both.
How long does the Spanish citizenship application process typically take once submitted?
Good question, because there is no typically, because we have a lot of different cases. So the law says 1 year. This last law gives a year to the ministry to approve it, but that doesn't mean anything. After 1 year, if it's not accepted, you can keep waiting as much as you want. It says 1 year because if you want, you can go to the court to say, hey, I'm waiting for a year. They haven't answered me, so I come to the court for you to give me the nationality. So it's like a tool they give you with a deadline that is after a year. You can use this tool, but really, sometimes we have nationalities after 3 months. Now we are having after 3-4 months. There are cases that we have 2 years waiting, not really in the last time, okay? So they are quick now. More or less, I always say to wait for a year, but it's true that we are seeing a lot of cases after 4 months, 3 months, and we are very happy for them. But we have clients like the same week applying, and some are resolved in 4 months and some are resolved in 7 months. Why? Because really this is, in the end, is divided to different people to be resolved. And if some person maybe gets holidays, vacations in their job in the ministry, then maybe your file gets a little bit delayed. And also it's important that there are two ways for the lawyers. The lawyers, we have 2 ways to get your passport, okay? There is the normal way at the ministry, the platform that is available for everyone. And the Colegio de Abogados de Madrid, so the Bar Association in Madrid, for example, it has an agreement with the Ministry of Justice, okay? It has an agreement which you can only go through a lawyer of the Madrid Bar Association, and we really need to take the original. They are a little tougher with the documents because we really need to take the original ones. You know that if you go to the normal platform, it's just scan the documents and you upload it. When we as lawyers go to the Bar Association, we go with the originals and they review them, because they review them at the Bar Association. They have like a pre-filter, and because they do a pre-filter, the ministry is normally a little quicker.
Someone submits the Spanish citizenship application, and now the time is running, okay? But in the meantime, they haven't received the Spanish passport, and they have to renew their current residency. Do they have to do it?
Very good question. So, for a lawyer, it's easier to tell you always, yes, renew it. Okay, that is the safer option. You will never get mistaken to renew your residency. The thing is that there are people that really are not in the situation of renewing. Maybe they apply for the passport and they really have left Spain. They met the requirements of the 2 years, of the 10 years, whatever, and then they cannot keep living in Spain because of their personal situation. When I see those cases, this is what I explain. Really, the law asks you to have legal residency until the application, okay? So if we have to fight that situation, we could fight it, okay? And we have done it because it's not also, it's not fair. As I said, some nationalities, some procedures are resolved in 4 months, some procedures are resolved in 1 year. It's not fair that someone that has to wait for a year, okay, needs to stay for a year, and someone that got resolved in 4 months could live in 4 months. That's why I say, of course, you don't get mistaken. If you can renew your residency, please do it. But if you are in the situation that you really need to leave Spain and you don't have the way to renew your residency, then we will need to fight that situation. Because if you read the law says that you need to meet the requirements before the application. Then whatever happens to your life shouldn't affect to your nationality. Really, for example, there was like a month ago, there was a ruling also talking about criminal records, getting criminal records after the application, okay? So the Supreme Court says that shouldn't affect your nationality. It was affecting, so it was really, if something was happening after your application and you got criminal records, they were denying. But now the Supreme Court says that shouldn't be that way, okay? It should be, if you haven't had criminal records before the application, then you should be considered as not having criminal records, even if you get criminal records after application. The same criteria is living in Spain or not living in Spain after the application.
What are the common reasons for a Spanish citizenship application to be denied?
The common mistakes, okay? One is the one that we have said, that you applied before the day that they consider you got your residency. Even if it's 1 day, okay? You can get denied if you don't apply after 2 years, if you apply, or after 10 years. If you apply after 9 months and 9 years and 11 months, it's going to be denied. So that is very common. Another common mistake is not legalizing the documents. This shouldn't be a denial, a direct denial, okay? They stop the procedure and they ask you for the documents. But here, sometimes you lost track, okay?
For example, you didn't apostille a birth certificate from your home country, for example.
Exactly. So they give you 10 days to submit that document. You can apply for an extension. You can apply to get a longer period of time to submit documents, okay? But sometimes, depending on your country or in your city, it takes much longer. So at some point, you cannot answer on time, and sometimes they close your file, okay? So it's very important that the document is apostilled or legalized and translated, okay? And also, a very common mistake is not being empadronada. Sometimes it is strange because we need the empadronamiento for everything in immigration, but this was very common with UK citizens, that sometimes, because they were European Union citizens in the past, everything was more flexible for them. So there were a lot that they were not empadronados. And this can cause a problem. Of course, if you have criminal records, it can be a huge problem. I recommend to cancel them. So it's not that you cannot apply if you have criminal records, but maybe you have to wait to cancel them. Or also police records. So maybe you have had a problem that didn't end in anything, but there is a police record because there was a detention. So that is also important to cancel, to do memory, because in 10 years can happen a lot of things.
But
or maybe
Things like, for example, driving under the influence or maybe smoking marijuana, these kind of things, let's say, things that you didn't serve time in jail.
Exactly, exactly. But then, so it's good that you or your lawyer get the police record. So, immigration, well, the Ministry of Justice will not ask you for the police record, okay? From Spain, I mean, they ask you for the criminal records for your home country, but they don't ask you for the police record or the criminal record in Spain because they check internally. But it's very good to check it, especially the police one, because normally if you have criminal records, you know. But the police one, maybe you have forgot about a detention in a party 5 years ago because was nothing, was not important. But that should be cancelled if it's in your record, okay?
I mean, especially if you were drunk in the party, you won't remember very well what happened.
Exactly.
Are there any specific language or cultural knowledge tests required for citizenship?
Yes. So there is the Spanish exam, which is for all of those countries that are not speaking Spanish-speaking countries. Okay. If you have dual citizenship, then you cannot do it. You cannot do the Spanish exam if your other citizenship is from Latin America and is a Spanish-speaking country. And the other one is the cultural exam. Don't get afraid. We have a catalog of questions. There are 300 questions, multiple choice. They keep changing, so don't study. Of course, you can study them, but I mean, they change some every 6 months, every year. So have a recent catalog of the questions, and just you have to give two times. You read them, and normally they are very, very simple questions. You will see them. We can provide them to you. They are public, and we will always have them before your exam.
Yes, I did that exam back in the day, and there are apps on your phone that you can download and you can practice. You just have to have like a certain percentage of correct answers. I think it's like 80%. And after you do it like 5 times, 6 times, you surely score more than 80%. And it's so funny because then you get together with your Spanish friends and you make those questions to them, and we
don't know them.
They don't know the answers, and you know them. It's so funny that you as a foreigner know more about Spain, at least during that period. Then of course you will forget every answer.
Oh, and one more thing. Apparently YouTube says you're gonna love watching this video right here. I think you should watch it.